Yeah,
All right.
we can
I
start.
might. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And then first up, Wincy's Pet, presented by Sherry Stenick. Ms. Stenick, the floor is yours.
Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road for our 100% adoption rate. This is Daisy, and Daisy's a year and a half old. She's, I could tell you she's an American Bull Terrier or a Staffordshire Terrier, but I'm going to tell you she's a part pit bull. She's a pit bull mix. She's very sweet. She's a year and a half old. She likes children. She, doesn't like squirrels, and she wants to be an only child in terms of dog children. So, that's her, and she's very gentle. She was just licking me before. She's just met me, and she seems relatively calm, so I hope you will come and visit her at the pound with some of her friends and bring somebody home. That's 211 One Rod Highway in Fairfield.
Oh, Sherry, thank you. And here's to your record staying intact.
We need some of that energy.
We do. Next up, to act on the minutes, to hear, consider, and act upon the minutes of, let's start with regular meeting September 19th. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. Any discussion? Kristen?
I have one proposed amendment on page 7. Towards the bottom of the page, the amendment, the word contract be replaced with general resolution. That should read release.
Sorry. Page 7,
Page 7.
particular number.
Paragraph number, line number?
It's the bottom third of the page where it's the paragraph beginning Selectmen McCarthy Vahey.
So this is like the last, thank you.
Right here.
So you want to change it to resolution release?
Made an amendment, you're saying
Oh,
Yes,
that?
yes, from resolution to release, both in that paragraph and then to below.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, what are you changing?
The word resolution to the word release.
Relief?
Release,
R-E-L-E-A-S.
correct,
So that's in two places?
correct.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion on the amendment?
No.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the minutes stand before us as amended. Any other discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's done. Let's get it done.
Sorry, where was the second resolution on that?
To, right here.
You okay, Shelley?
Yes. Thank you.
Next up to hear, consider and act upon the minutes of special meeting September 28th. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. Any discussion on these?
No.
All right, we ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's done. All right. Next up, Fair TV Operational Committee appointments. I'm going to suggest at the moment we take all three together, if that's okay. And may I have a motion to accept
So moved.
and a second?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
I know there was some email traffic on this matter in the last couple days, and I think I'm up to date with all of that. So I just wanted to give you folks a quick update from the Republican side of the aisle. I have been in contact, or the Republican Town Committee has been in contact with a number of candidates. I think the number is 5 at the moment, and I believe the anticipation is to present 2 names back through your office, Mr. Tetro, for consideration by this board, not today in conjunction with these, but at a later meeting, whether that's our next meeting or the meeting after, depending on scheduling and getting resumes together and collecting all the information that you believe is necessary to consider those people. So we aren't quite there. We've gone through a number of people's resumes and had some discussions, and I fully anticipate being able to present 2 people relatively soon. So I guess that would lead me to my next question. Since we're not quite there, does it make sense to do some today and add 2 later, which I would be okay with as long as we all agree that there are 2 coming from the other side of the aisle? Or does it make more sense to just wait until we have all 5 properly vetted, agreed upon, and present them as a group?
Any thoughts?
A couple thoughts. I think,
Sure.
as we talked about last time, clearly, as with any board or commission in town and how we operate, is that we work in a bipartisan fashion, so that we always work to have that. So I can say clearly that I am definitely committed to having a balance on this body. And again, it's fair TV, so we want it to be fair, very much. I look forward to having conversation about who those candidates might be. My hope would be sooner rather than later. I respect the fact that the Fair TV folks who have been working and who have been kind of ongoing, maintaining and doing the hard work of providing access, and I thank them for that. I took advantage last night watching the live Board of Finance meeting live, so it's a tremendous service. And so I think the sooner we can have the full complement. I recognize it does take time to collect that information and to see if people understand the commitment, are able to make it, and can provide their information. So in that sense, if we were to move forward with any appointments today, I think it would be important, if we were to do that, to make sure that those who were appointed understood that and, weren't necessarily going to, would take actions with that in mind. And if, in other words, if there's work that needs to be done right now in the immediate moment with that committee, would understand to not move forward with something without being able to have the other folks who we anticipate will be appointed involved in something that would be some kind of significant change or alteration of any kind.
Right. I guess in follow-on comments, I look at this and say that we're definitely committed. I mean, we've been waiting for a while, so and I think the discussion has always been around making sure we have a balanced group from that standpoint. So I think that's been the intent of this body all along. And certainly, as the charter indicates for all committees, it's the intent of the charter to make sure we have balance in that. I guess the question to me is just, is there anything we accomplished by appointing 3 folks now? Is there anything that happens? Or conversely, is there anything that doesn't happen if we don't get somebody in place right now and allow for the 2 folks to be added on? It's a couple weeks. There's not, on one hand, a lot on the plate, and Fair TV has been functioning.
Right.
I think things like holding the orientation, perhaps, and having that orientation session where they pick their chair, that type of thing, would best be served when everybody's together. And perhaps we ask them to hold on that until everybody's together in that regard, if we were to go forward.
Okay.
Any other thoughts in terms of things that happen or don't happen if we move forward or don't move forward today?
I'm okay either way. If we want to move forward and consider these 3 people, that's perfectly fine. If we're going to do that, then I have at least one question on one of the potential candidates that I'll bring up at that time. If we're going to wait and put all 5 on at once so that the 2 Republicans can be finalized and added to the list, that's probably a more concise way to go. And I would support that as well. So I'll defer back to Mr. Tetra. I mean, I would think it does make sense to wait without waiting too long, of course, and getting the group appointed together so that they can start moving forward together and working from that day forward as a group and assigning their chairman and all that stuff.
Mr. Lesser, we know who you are. If you could just announce yourself for
Lesser,
this.
Town Attorney. I'm sitting here thinking about what you said, and I just pulled the charter out and took a look at it. And, the charter says that no more than a bare majority of any single political party shall be on these commissions. You're appointing 3 of the same party, and I'm wondering if maybe you should wait till you have 5 to appoint. You know, it's not like you have an existing group and people are being replaced, so you're going to have more. But I know who that is. And so maybe it is best that you wait till you have 5 people so that you're not appointing any more than a bare majority. Because technically, you would have a quorum. So maybe discretion's the better part of valor here, and just wait till you have the 2 Republicans.
That's enough for me.
That sounds like pretty solid advice. I do apologize for the delay on our side, but we've only been looking for a couple, 3 weeks, and we've got a lot of folks interested, and we've gone through that. So I'm confident we can get this done in the next week or 2 and be prepared to present names in advance so that you folks can interview them and speak to them and get comfortable with their appointments.
Okay.
Just a question through you. I see a couple of folks out here who have been involved. And I think the point you raised is, you know, in terms of what would or wouldn't get done. And I think there's much wisdom in your statement. And I think it's why we delayed it to this meeting from last meeting as well. So it does make sense to wait, especially if we can do it for the next meeting. I think it does. But just, if I may, through you, I see Mr. Leslie and Ms. Jones in the back and wonder, you know, if you have any concern in terms of delay and, you know, again, knowing that we're committed to moving this forward as quickly as we can at this point, so. Nothing?
Tom Leslie, Director of IT, CAC Council. It's just that we've been waiting operationally for ahead, and the longer we wait, the longer things. There's nothing stupendously critical pending at the moment, but it would just be nice to get the head in there as soon as possible.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
So, just, may I just ask another, do you mind if I?
Nope.
Just, at this point, in the interim time, my understanding is that Mr. Spino is serving as the manager and has been, as we all know, performing many duties in that capacity, and that will continue.
Yes.
at this
Yeah.
point.
I mean, things will just continue going along, and between Jerry and I, we're working out issues of, you know, if we need a cable or a piece of equipment or whatever, and like the AT&T connection is coming through now, and we're just about to get that, but you know, things are moving along. It's just, like I said, the sooner we get the head, the better, and let them get them all up to speed.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Leslie.
Sure.
Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Just one really quick comment. I just want to thank all the folks involved in Fair TV for their patience as we have navigated our way through this process, and hopefully, in the end, it will be the best result for everyone, for the group, as well as for Fair TV and the town, so thank you.
Yep, I think we all would echo those comments. Is there a motion on the table?
Well, we moved and seconded for discussion, but
Well, you were going to approve the 3 appointments.
No, that's just the motion at the moment, correct? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any additional motion we want to make? Or do we want to go to the public?
Could go to the public, yeah, sure.
All right. Any comments from the public at this time? All right, seeing none, back to the board.
I move to postpone this item to the next regularly scheduled meeting, the Board of Selectmen, the next scheduled meeting. I don't have the date in front of me.
Right now, it's scheduled on the 17th.
The 17th.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second?
Second?
All right. Any,
So it's October 17th.
correct. Any further discussion on that?
Not at the moment.
All right. Any comments from the public on the motion to postpone? Seeing none, back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, and again, thank you to the folks that are intimately involved in Fair TV for your patience. I think we're pretty much committed to getting this resolved by our next meeting. All right. Next up, from the chairman of the Greenfield Hill Cemetery Committee, to hear, consider, and act upon a petition from Melanie Marks for authority to remove, repair, restore, and reset 4 grave markers at Greenfield Hill Cemetery. Ms. Marks, thank you. If you'll just state your name and address for them.
Marks, I live at 3808 Reading Road in Fairfield.
ARKS,
M-A-R-K-S,
so 38.
08 Reading Road in Fairfield. I want to thank the board for squeezing me in on this agenda. I was actually going to be out of town on the 17th and really wanted to get this moving. I'm not sure if many of you know, I've been working in the Greenfield Hill Cemetery since 2008. It's a town-owned cemetery, and their main responsibility is just to mow it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of money to be had in having these headstones repaired, so I've been working with the Connecticut Gravestone Network to get a lot of these stones repaired, reset, and the cemetery in better repair. I brought a couple pictures. We've had several storms up there with trees that came down. In May of 2010, we had a pretty big storm, and several of the stones were taken out. The 4 that I'm asking to be removed and to be repaired came about by a descendant who is a DAR member as well, who was horrified to see the headstone that they were pretty much obliterated. This is something that we can't do on our own in the cemetery. They have to be removed and pinned and put in bases because of the extent of the damage. So what I'm asking, I have been before Judge Caruso, our probate judge. I have his approval. I was on the board, or on the agenda for Parks and Rec in September to get their approval. So you were my last stop. And to give you an idea, the gentleman that will be doing the repair work also did the Smedley stone in the old burying ground. He's been approved by SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation Office, to do this work. So I have full confidence that he'll do this correctly. As I said, there's no money. To repair these 4 is going to cost over $1,000. I did research for this gentleman, and I'm waiving my $600 fee and got a $400 anonymous donation to cover the cost of these 4 stones. So this woman will be happy. So I just wanted to let you know that, and we're hoping that you approve it so that we can get these out before winter comes and get them back in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
No question, just a quick comment. Thank you very much for all your work and your effort in maintaining this cemetery, and all the hard work and long time that you put into this is much appreciated.
Thank you. I just want to make one other comment. I started this work before I got on the board of the Greenfield Hill Village Improvement Society, and once I got on board, we created a cemetery committee within our board. So we are kind of overseeing it again. They used to, from like 1930 to 1960. So it was kind of the right thing to do, to bring them back and get involved again. So that's why I'm here representing the Greenfield Hill Village Improvement Society.
Kristen, do you have
Thank you.
something to say?
I, like Selectman Kylie, am grateful that you're preserving our history for us and for our children. It's phenomenal, and you've been frequently before town
Dabbling in a lot of
bodies
things.
over time, so
Thank you.
for the commitment to the town. And
We are having a cleanup day in the old burying ground, October 13th, so if you want to share the word, we would welcome any volunteers.
So the date was?
October 13th, 10 to 3.
Yeah, and again, I echo my colleagues in thanking you for your efforts, but also in terms of getting the Village Improvement Society back involved, setting up the cemetery committee. Having grown up here, you see the cemeteries, and frankly, you take them for granted.
Right.
When you move away, you start to realize that not every town has that unique historical heritage and that Fairfield does, and how much it shapes our culture and our town today. So thank you for being so conscious.
I find them special. I'm not from here. I grew up in Ohio, so this is my second home away from home, so I do love them.
Did we move that and second it? All right, can I have a motion to It's to hear, act, and consider upon a petition of Melanie Marks for authority to remove, repair, reset 4 grave markers in Greenfield Hill Cemetery. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, we've had some discussion. Okay, if we go to the public? Any public comments? All right, seeing none, we're back to the board. Any further discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck and good
Thank
repairing.
you.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, tax collector refunds. We are dutifully working on those, I think.
Yeah, there's
And there was an email that went out. Mr. Conley, I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
No.
Cindy, could we ask you to come up and fill us in if you'll take, President Mike, introduce yourself, please. and
Okay.
Fill the board in.
I am Cinda Bookter. I am the tax collector for the town of Fairfield. And we have been working with the new software company and the assessor's office and trying to get some of the processes to be a little bit more effective and less cumbersome for the town and to help people get their refunds. And we are working with leasing companies. And what happened in the past is if someone was to get a refund, we sent a letter, they had to sign it, they sent it back, we had to track it. I have arranged with the leasing companies so that if they are going to get a refund from an adjustment from a car that has been sold or is no longer on our tax rolls, that they send us a letter when they send the proof. This eliminates us mailing something to them mailing something back. We've put that into place to make it more efficient for our office as well as theirs. And that's what happened. So what has happened in this particular month, the last few weeks, we've gotten a lot of those. We're able to process them. So you have a much larger amount of refunds than you would normally do at a selectmen's meeting. And I offered to come to explain that, why you got so many this time that you haven't. And you'll be getting them, what happens with leasing companies is they usually send in bulk. They send quite a few at the same time. So there will be other months that you'll have, an exceptional amount of refunds to be processed. But they are all refunds that are due. They're overpayments on accounts. So, and that information is reported monthly to the finance office. So,
Good, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Since you're here and the chance to
Sure.
be educated for all of us and the public at large, we vote on these here at the Board of Selectmen level, and the selectmen signatures are on these. And can you just explain the mechanism
certainly,
for that and just the
state
statutory
statutes
background?
are written as to how refunds are to be handled. And a refund is applied to the tax collector. We research it to make sure that it's a legitimate refund to go back. Then we present you with a list of those refunds. It is the governing body that signs that and approves the list that I give you. And then it goes to the finance office where they draw the check. They send the check to the recipient of the refund. Then they give us the information back. We put it into our software to make sure that our accounts all reflect that. And what it is, it's a check and balance. So the assessor makes the adjustment. It comes to the tax collector. The tax collector then notifies whomever gets the refund. Or as you see with the real estate refunds, usually they're paid in error or they're a duplicate payment. We research that to make sure that those people, and they sign affidavits saying that they get the money back. They're entitled to the money. And so then it begins the process coming to you, so you're aware that the information is accurate and going, what is being refunded. And then the finance office takes it out of the general fund, out of the tax collector's taxes that are collected, and then back to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, may I have a motion to accept the tax collector refunds.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right, since that's before us, we've heard the presentation, we've asked our questions. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. Any, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Victor, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, to review and approve the general lease settlement agreement between the town of Fairfield and the former chief fiscal officer. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, sir. I'll
Mr.
start.
Kiley?
Thank you. And again, Mr. Tetra, thank you for allowing us to go on the agenda. We do appreciate that. The time and effort that we've all put into this particular matter is well worth it. The questions I have, I was unable to attend the Board of Finance meeting last night due to business travel, so I wasn't able to hear their presentation or their questions, but I did review the documents that we received, and thank you for your office for putting those together, and I was able to go through and I believe understand all the math. I wanted to focus quickly on the financial aspect of the contract, because on a personal level, you know, we've had many discussions about should we have, could we have, or, you know, why did we do any of this? And I'm satisfied that we're past all of that. And the object of putting the contract on the agenda was to evaluate the contract, the terms and conditions, and, you know, maybe some of the reasoning for it, but certainly not to rehash all of the previous meetings that we had that were more along the lines of within the charter, outside the charter, and all that responsibility kind of stuff. So with that kind of focus, I wanted to go through, I've gone through the math, and it does add up to the $128,000, you know, between vacation, severance, pension, legal fees, and some other deferred compensation. And I understand the legal fees number is a little bit soft, but it's an estimate, and I certainly appreciate that. My first question is on the $52,000 of pension cost, and I don't know if there's anyone here that can actually answer that. I read the email, and I've read some of the information around it. Is the $52,000 that's being portrayed here as the financial impact of the pension change, is that including all of the changes to the pension? You know, both the salary increase and the number of years? So is that the full all-in number that we believe is going to be the incremental cost over the estimated potential lifetime of the recipient?
Correct. That's the present value based on the assumptions currently in the plan and the current situation. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems a little low to me. I mean, and I'm not an actuary, so I can't definitely dispute the number, and I'm just trying to better understand it. But their explanation in their document was that this was all-inclusive of all the factors in today's present value dollars, and you're comfortable with that?
That's what we asked for.
Yeah.
It's, you know, so I don't have any better information on that.
Okay, that's fine. Unless is there a follow-up on that for the pension side?
No, I mean, I followed along last night at the Board of Finance meeting, but I think from what I have heard and understood, those are the factors. And again, I'm not an actuary.
Neither am I, right?
Certainly, I'm not going to try and do that calculation, but.
But you would concur it appears to be inclusive of all the necessary components and make sense, big picture?
That's what I understand.
Okay.
But again.
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
No experience
Yeah,
on that
exactly.
kind of math. I
Good.
leave that to other people in my family.
Okay. The other question I had on the economics of the transaction is the differences in the salaries. Well, there's two things. There's the salary estimate that we're going to have to pay incrementally, and I'm just speaking just to the salary being paid to the former CFO. I'm not speaking to, are we within the budget number and all that other stuff. So, but as far as the amounts of money that the former CFO will be receiving between now and the end of the year, and then there's the money from January 1st going forward, which is actually unknown to us, right? because it could be up to 110 if he were to be unemployed and earning zero, or it could be zero if he is working at another municipality and earns more than $110,000. That's how I read that.
Correct. I mean, we do know the max
The max
that we're
is,
on the hook for.
right. The max would be the $55,000, right, from January 1st, if you just take the 110.
Correct.
And go forward for 6 months. So that's potentially in addition to this,
In addition to,
the $127,000.
no.
Can you help me
Sure.
understand that?
Sure. Let's take this from the top.
Yep.
One, if you're looking just at the salary component,
Yep.
there's no impact on the current year budget, because it's at or below the current budget.
Understood that.
Okay. Then if you look at the vacation payout, that's $31,046.
Got it.
Deferred income is 1,000.
Deferred income is, yep, got it.
Okay. And those are benefits Mr. Hiller earned regardless of when he leaves, how he leaves, or anything else. Under
Correct.
this agreement, he's also entitled to $33,632 in severance,
That's correct.
right? Those are the, if you will, three numbers that impact the current fiscal year.
Understood.
Right. In addition, there's a present value number of $52,000, which is not paid out. That's just the present value of what the payout will be over multiple years in the pension. So that's not coming out of any one-year budget item.
Correct. I'm with you. And all that adds up to the 128K.
I
Yeah, it does.
don't think so.
31, 33, 52, 10, and 1. Yeah, that's the $128,000, or it's 127 and
And
change.
I will
Yeah,
trust your math on that.
that's good math. And that $127,000 that was discussed last night, again, I wasn't there, does include the 31 for vacation you talked about, the 33 for severance, the potential 52 of today's present value for future pension payments. So it's including future payments via the pension bump up. I got that. $10,000 for legal fees and $1,000 for the deferred revenue, so, or the deferred compensation. So that gets us to the 127. I get all that. I don't exactly understand the 52K, but I think you need to be an actuarial expert to get that. So
That's who we went to for the number.
So I'm comfortable with all that. But as far as the benefit to the former CFO, that's the piece that's missing for me, because there's still a couple benefits to him that are there for him that aren't in this calculation. For instance, the potential $55,000. And I'm just trying to understand the components. If the former CFO is unemployed on January 1st or earning zero, then the town would be on the hook to pay him $55,000 between January 1st and June 30th of next year, which is roughly half of a year of a $110,000 salary. So
Correct.
that's a correct statement. So should that be the case, then that $55,000 would be added to the 127.
No?
No?
It wouldn't.
No?
Basically, if he's unemployed, he'll still be working here. All right? What we've done is basically say, look, we're committed to getting the work done in that position. We've got the former CFO on staff as a financial services manager, and we've got a CFO in place above him to supervise and make sure the work gets done. So that the town is staying within the kind of budgeted salary line and we're committed to getting the same amount of work out at the same quality or better from that standpoint.
Go ahead.
I think what you're saying is the things that I'm pointing to the memos that we have from
Right.
the actuary, and those pieces are pieces of the settlement and part of having the CFO move out of the position. So I think what you're saying is the $55,000, that is money that we as a town could possibly pay. It's unknown, as you said earlier, at the time. That remains up in the air. It is a potential amount that we will pay in salary for Mr. Hiller to continue to work for the town during that time period, if that's the case, depending on how things work out.
That's correct. And I was,
And what you're saying is that yes, we are committed, that's part of the agreement, but it's part of what we've already budgeted
Our
for the
budget,
town.
there's no incremental cost to that over what we
Right.
have.
Yeah.
The only incremental cost is the severance component, which he's due under his current benefit program. The vacation days and deferred income would be with him regardless of when or what happens. And the present value of the pension is not something that hits this budget at all. It's spread out over a number of budgets in the future.
Understood. So, I mean, I think what we're having here is kind of a philosophical difference of how to look at this, because I understand exactly what you're saying. It's within this year's budget. Some of it goes against future budgets for the pension. I get the math. I understand the components. That's all pretty straightforward stuff, actuarial assignments aside. My question is, looking at it from a contractual basis. This is a contract between two people. You know, there's benefits to both sides. You know, we're doing this, we're getting this, and the other parties are doing and getting things as well. So there's potential economic benefit to the other person, to Mr. Hiller, should he be in that situation from January 1st to on. So January 1st through June 30th. And in similar fashion, between September 15th or whatever his last day was, between now and the end of December, there's a similar philosophical argument, you know, he's being paid at a full rate, right? But he's only here part-time. So that begs two questions. You know, number one, are we getting, with all due respect to the other people involved who are picking up the pieces and getting all the work done and working hard to do that? I'm sensitive to all that. But there is the question, you know, are we getting a full week's worth of value in a full dollar's worth of salary from the former CFO because he's physically not here? Whether the work is getting done or not, he's still getting full economic benefit. So I see that as an economic benefit to him. In similar fashion from January 1st going forward. So the ultimate impact of this could be greater to us, depending on how you view that. And then the second question is, it's back to one that I think you've already answered, that you're committed to getting the work done and providing the service to the town that is required of the department. But, you know, logic tells me that, you know, there's going to have to be some gaps that need to be covered and things that need to be done. So, you know, there's definitely going to be some opportunity loss for the town. You know, you don't have two people now, you have one, or you have 1.4. So there's that question as well. So, and I asked the questions I asked the questions solely from the financial side as they are part of the contract. And did the town receive, you know, good value in this deal, in this contract?
Yep, you've asked a number of questions in that, and let me be absolutely clear.
Yeah.
We are basically committed to the same dollars we were before the settlement agreement in terms of the salary component. We're committed to the same output and work product before and after the settlement agreement. So we are going to get that work done one way or the other. And again, this is where I'd also point out that the days allotted, there's a minimum days. That certainly is an encouragement to Mr. Hiller to be efficient in what he's doing, but that is a minimum, and if it takes more time than that, we will work with Mr. Hiller to get that additional time. But the key component here is the work will get done. So, Kristen?
Well, I mean, sure, you can view things differently, and that's part of what I said last time. I mean, we all have different perspectives. That's why we're a 3-member board. That's a good thing. I think, just to respond to something you said, one, recognizing that certainly there are a number of people in our finance department who continue to do the work and soldier on, and Mr. Mayor as well, who is really, doing double duty. And so I want to say thank you to all of them for that and appreciate that. And transition is hard, no doubt. I think my perspective is different than yours in terms of definitely there will be gaps. I understand where you're coming from, and I also think that it's possible that in any change, as we had earlier with the refunds, the tax refunds, that there may be changes that allow us to do things more simply or more efficiently. So that's possible, what you said. I also think it's possible that, their ways, fresh set of eyes and new perspective. So I also, just in re-reviewing the agreement, kind of clarifying the time piece in terms of that, the minimum of 2 days, and that, I think to the question of value, Selectman Kiley, that additional days may be required from time to time based upon the needs of the town and with advance notice to Mr. Hiller. So that, that helps me feel better that there is that opportunity as well, if the need does arise, that is part of the agreement. I think because you've mentioned this, and I think we all share that sense that we need to make sure that the bottom line is being protected and that the work is getting done and that what's happening in town with our finances is well-served and well-protected. So, I think that's truly important to every one of us sitting here and everyone in the town bodies.
All right, any additional discussion?
No, I think I've exhausted that particular topic. We have some differences, and I certainly respect both sides. I just think that we have some exposure financially, some additional exposure that the calculation doesn't consider, and I wanted to bring those items to light. Okay? The other question I have on the contract itself is the non-disparagement clause that's in there. Okay? And I guess my question around that is, was there a specific reason that one party or the other felt the need to have a non-disparagement clause in this agreement?
The non-disparagement agreement, which has obviously been the subject of a lot of conversation, was added by agreement of both attorneys, and it was represented as being a standard clause that is in this type of agreement, release agreement. So it wasn't something that was subject to negotiation, if you will, at that point.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it wasn't something, it was a standard operating procedure type of a clause in a contract like this, but it was not the specific request of one party or the other because of any reasons they might have felt compelled to request it?
It wasn't a request on this side, so I don't know about the other side. But it came back from the attorneys in the document as it was drafted up.
From the other side's attorneys?
From both attorneys, they worked out. That was part of the standard legal framework that was added on top of the terms that we negotiated.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions at this point?
No, those are the questions I have on the agreement.
Okay. We have talked about this, I think, for our third Board of Selectmen meeting in a row,
At least.
over several hours. We've gone through several hours' worth of Board of Finance meetings at this point.
Move to call the question.
All
Do you have
right.
any questions?
I've spoken my piece in
I'm
the
sorry.
past. I'm good.
So move to call the question, which is not debatable. Is there a second? I'll second. The question, vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Go ahead, that's fine.
So the motion passes. The resolution is now before us to review and approve the general release and settlement agreement for the town of Fairfield and the former chief fiscal officer. All in favor?
Before we vote, I just had one quick comment.
Kevin, there's no
Oh, you already
comments at
called,
this point.
you already called the question.
Yes.
Okay.
All opposed?
Opposed.
So, I'm sorry, who's first and second, this last one?
Ms. McCarthy-Vahey moved, I seconded.
Which last one, Charlie, do you mean?
That was to review and,
Oh,
What was
the
that?
actual motion.
it was to review and approve the general release. That's the motion, right? What's
I
in-
thought we had moved that earlier.
So what was this last one? I'm sorry, you went too fast for me.
The last one is to move the question.
Okay,
Who voted?
and that was, oh, I thought you had voted on that one. That was not
Mhm.
2-1.
It was 2-1. We did vote on that.
And then what was this last one?
It was the
actual
question,
vote on
the
the
actual resolution itself.
Mhm.
Right, to review and approve the general Right, okay, good. And that was 2-1 also. Thank you.
Next up would be to hear, consider, and act upon any communications. And having none. Next up would be to hear, consider, and act upon any other business which shall properly come before this meeting. And having none.
None?
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That's okay. I had some comments to make, but I'll address them to the press.